Hey everyone, and welcome to BMX News, a weekly live BMX news show where I talk about everything that happened in the previous week within the world of BMX that I think you guys might care about. We do it live, so that means there's a whole bunch of people in the chat right now. Already 10 freaking people. Sick. Kyle McDonald, Travis Schramm, who changed his username to BMX Rad Dad, and it threw me for a loop until I just saw his Instagram message and recognized the name. Stony, old fat guy BMX, is in here. Kevin Jackson's in here. We have, who else do we have? Cole Grove, who was in my live stream last night, was in here. Taco Slurpees is in here. Sean Chambers. All the good. So, let's get into the news this week. We have to start off with some unfortunate news in that Penn Skate is closing. After 25 years, it says, they are going to be closing. It says something personal, didn't give a defined reason, but it looks like it's a understandable thing. And it's a bummer to see. I mean, there's an entire community of people out in that direction in a huge radius around that place that just now are going to have nowhere to ride or skate or whatever in the wintertime, and that's kind of a bummer. So, talking about this because if you're in the area or you are planning to make a trip and you wanted to ride the Little Devil Bowl, that's one of the reasons why I'm talking about this, because the Little Devil Bowl is at Penn Skate, and if you ever wanted to ride that thing and you never had the chance to, now is the time to do it, because come January 1st, you probably, maybe, I don't want to say probably, but you more than likely aren't going to be able to ride this thing anymore. Rip to the Little Devil Bowl potentially, and that sucks. So with that being said, get to Penn Skate if you want to get a last session in. I'm sorry to the people who run that place and all of the locals. It's a bummer. But hopefully something else comes up. Next, something popped up. When did it come out? It's been posted 3 days ago, and it's already got almost 1,000 followers, or approaching 1,000 followers. It's called the DC BMX tapes, and what it says is 29 tapes were stored away 20 years ago and left to be forgotten. The recently found tapes contain raw and candid footage from the early DC BMX team, and this picture is some of those tapes. And it says here, we got the tapes. Yesterday I found out an eBay listing for 29 mini DV tapes selling for $3,500. The seller was a Storage Wars guy who bought an abandoned locker in SoCal full of old DC Shoes stuff. I'm guessing the locker was filled when DC Shoes was sold to Quicksilver in 2004. In the locker was BMX, skate, moto, and never seen DC memorabilia, including hundreds of tapes. Apparently, the owner of the locker was a well-known videographer from the DC Shoes and Plan B early days. I took a closer look at the videos and saw many were from the early 2000s, included Robbie Morales, Robbie Miranda, Alan Cook, Ronnie Chalk, Chris Doyle, Chad Kagi, Neil Wood, Rob Darden, Ryan Nyquist, Ken Block, Colin McKay, and the late Dave Mirra, Kevin Robinson, and Colin Winkleman. From what I remember, most of the footage was raw, candid, and behind the scenes. I won't go into many details about the seller, but it was super cool and we were able to make a deal on the tapes. I look forward to sharing the contents of these tapes with everyone on here through a new Instagram account. I also hope to get some of these tapes back in the hands of the riders mentioned above. These videos are long lost memories that I doubt anyone has seen. I'm especially excited to see the Colin Winkleman 13 Explorer car jump and the Ronnie Chalk tractor tail tap and Dave Mirra candid tapes. Man, I can't talk. Thanks for tagging along this afternoon while I worked hard to score these tapes. Can't wait to share these videos with you all. So, this exists, and the first thing I'm going to say about it is if you are the person who runs this, post the videos to YouTube too. You got to do YouTube as well, because YouTube is a search engine, whereas Instagram, these clips, if anybody wants to see this stuff, they have to go all the way to the bottom, and then 5 years from now when they come back and want to find a specific thing. They just have to hope that they can remember in what order things were posted, or remember the thumbnail behind it and generally what was around it. But if you post it on YouTube, you give it search functionality, and it makes it so people will be able to find this stuff in a database kind of form for way longer. So if anybody knows the person who's running this thing, tell them they gotta just upload it to YouTube. You don't have to do anything fancy. Thumbnails don't matter. Titles and a little bit of a description so that people can find this stuff easier, because that's the whole purpose of this, is to make it so people can see it. And why not make it so we can see it for longer than just when it's popped up in our Instagram feed? So there's a lot of really cool stuff in here. Dave Mirra stuff, this huge kinked handrail. Chad Kage's in here. Robbie Morales just doing interviews while in a manual, and so much really awesome stuff. Once again, that's part of why I feel like it has to get put onto YouTube so that people can enjoy this for years to come, way past when it disappears out of the Instagram feed. So it's called the DC BMX Tapes on Instagram, and someone let them know that they got to put it on YouTube. Just easier that way, or somewhere where people can search for it and find this stuff, and it would be so cool to have that catalog. Moving on from there, we've got the Dig Book 2022 that is out now. So every year Dig does a physical book at the end of the year. This one has 220 pages of global BMX coverage. Is that the cover? That is the cover. Freaking Reed Stark dropping into Smith. Oh my god. That is insane. That's so insane. So Reed Stark on the cover, photo by Wes McGrath. The Dig Awards, BSD does Denver, UK Trails Trip, a nice stew of souvenirs. Return to Puerto Rico with Rob Delecki and Messerol. There's some previews of the intro pages for these different sections. 0F's Given, Chris Volkwine. Gary Young, A Lesson in Loyalty and Longevity. About Gary Young. That's sick. That's so sick. Felix Prangenberg interview, Lewis Mills interview, Jordan Goodwin interview, Work in Progress, Casey Starling interview. This is so sick. So sick. Reed Stark, A Fork in the Road, Japan, S&M Dirt Rules, Fast and Loose, The Endless Road Trip. That's interesting because that sounds about right. Tuning in from Bangkok, Thailand. Holy cow. Thank you for tuning in all the way from Thailand. How much more? Dang, we're like halfway through this. Time Doesn't Matter, 10 Years of Chocolate Truck, the 2022 Dig Photo Contest, We the People House, South Africa, 2022 in photos. It's pretty freaking rad. I love to see something like this, and a lot of work goes into these things, so make sure you hit the link in the description and buy one of these to support Dig and what they are doing in this. Definitely going to have to buy one of them before it's too late, and they will be shipping to the US and internationally outside of where Dig is located after Christmas this year. So moving on from there, let's get into the videos from this week, because there are a lot of videos from this week. We've got Matt Perkins and Luke Pedalski. Luke Pedals from Instagram and Matt P. killing it in Florida, called Lil Slice. These two dudes are savages on their bikes. It's a short one, but a good one. And it's also set to some like heavy music, definitely heavy. This is the trailer for that We the People House video, or section of the Dig book that I just mentioned. 2-minute trailer, video dropping January 1st. Doesn't look very, I don't know. That's a thumbnail that makes you want to click, I think. Next, Motobunka and Doomed for a collaboration video featuring all of these riders, and here are their Instagram names as well. Next, we got a Flatland video, part 3 of Benjamin Hudson's It's Okay for IGI BMX. I just want to know how many parts there are to this video. Part 3, 3 minutes long. Flatland, if you want to see Flatland, that's one to check out this week. Then we got one from a dude who I hadn't heard of before called Cade Blendon. The video is called STFU. It's all street. This kid, dude, guy, kills it. This is also set to heavy music, which seems to be a theme for the videos this week. So if you want street riding, you know, the crusty looking spots and making it work with setups, this would be one to check out for sure. Then we've got one called Pure Intentions with Michael Laren from Mongoose. He talks about, there's a little bit of narrating in here from Michael talking about some philosophy type stuff. Then the music is actually done by Michael, and it's an all dirt jump video from out in Colorado. Michael Laren, one of the most dialed riders in BMX. So you know that it's dialed. And if you want to see some dirt riding, this is one to check out for sure. Then we've got Cinema BMX, Corey Martinez, Keep It On. I did a react video to this one earlier this week, and I didn't get a chance to talk about it in the news last week. It came out afterwards. But this video is so good. So many brake tricks. Corey Martinez, just one of the most legendary dialed riders in all of BMX history. And riding like this in a video, I can only hope brings brakes back even more than what's going on already. So if you want to hear more of my thoughts, watch the reaction. Then next up, the next react video that's probably going to come out, the Webby Show 4 came out this week. I heard and saw from so many people that this video is incredible. I didn't know if I should react to it or not, but I think right after this, I'm going to react to this video. So I haven't seen it yet. I just know that it is insane, and a couple other people on YouTube channels here. I saw J.R. Hobbs on his YouTube channel do a whole like little podcast thing on his Cork 5 podcast talking about this video, and then Scotty's video from yesterday, I'm pretty sure, is talking about the Webby Show and maybe reacting to it as well. I didn't watch it because I don't want to have anything spoiled, obviously. So I'm going to jump on that train. Somebody told me I should do it last week, and I had already recorded one, so we'll do it for this week, and it'll probably come out Sunday. Next, Brett Downs, Bustin' Out 2022. This is his 2022 highlights video. He is 54 years old and still killing it. Let's just click in here real quick. There's a lot of flatland in here. I'm sure it's the majority flatland, but look at it. The dude is dialed. And if you ever go to a skate park and Brett Downs is there and you don't want to ride, this dude will talk to you the entire time you're at the skate park. He can make sure that you don't ride if you don't want to, because of how much you can get into a conversation and just talk to him for hours and hours and hours. So easy to do. Good dude, good riding. Check it out. Another Flatland video to check out for this week, and there's more than just Flatland in there. Next, Gary Young's Drop the Hammer section from 2005. When I talked about Ryan Nyquist 2005 Drop the Hammer section, I said, I feel like Nyquist might be able to refilm this entire video in a week because of how good he is and how much he's gotten even better since these legendary video parts dropped. And as the video played, I was like, okay, maybe not a week, maybe a month. But this video with friggin' Gary Young and how dialed Gary Young is and how much better he's gotten since this and just continuously improving as a BMX rider, I think Gary Young could refilm this entire video in a couple days to a week. That's not to say it's not good, because watching this, you're just like, oh my God, the whole entire video is amazing. And even today, if this was released today, it would still hold up as an incredible part. But Gary Young is Gary Young, and he has done nothing but get better at riding. And I bet that he could do all of this stuff and more for sure. We just word vomit until you run away. That's funny. The reaction to my Brett Downs conversation comments. Next up, we get into some videos that are starting to get longer. Odyssey's RVA Getaway. This is from a Richmond, Virginia trip with Tom Dugan, Gary Young, we just mentioned Gary Young, Justin Spreet, Corey Walsh, and Preston Oakert, riding in Richmond, Virginia from, I think it had to do with the, whatchamacallit, the Richmond Rumble in Richmond. And they're riding concrete skate parks, street, and even some dirt jumps in here with all those guys who kill it. So, next up, actually, we'll give you a length, 6.5 minutes for that one. Then we move on to Fiend and Federal Le Funk put together. Oh yeah, the last video, let me pull that back up. I want to say who made it. Zach Kramus filmed it, Scott Marceau edited it. This one was put together by Tony Ennis, and it features Boyd Hilder, Johnny Radicus, Bruno Hoffman, Garrett Reynolds, Jackman Hines, Lewis Mills, Joe Jarvis, Colin Varignac, Dan Lacey, Martin Seaman, Maddie Lagoidi, and Matthias Dandois as a special guest. That is a freaking stacked list of riders. Holy cow. So definitely check this one out. It's even longer yet at 8.5 minutes long. And as you're going to see, these next 3 videos are within 2 or 3 seconds of each other in length. I thought that was super weird. So Federal Bikes and Fiend Le Funk. Next, Vinyl BMX. If you want trails, this is the one to check out. It's got Tom Arcus uploaded it, Mark Potosny and David Leap traveling all over the UK and France riding trails. Mark Potosny was just added to S&M, but those are the main featured names here on BMX Union, but there's a lot more people in here. Mark Potosny, David Leap, Gillian, Mark, Red Belge, Fozy, Cam McCready, Wilson Haynes, Sven. Okay, these names are starting to get harder to pronounce. All of these names are in this video and friends. So there's more, and it is 8 minutes, 31 seconds. Friggin' sick. If you want dirt jumping and trails, this is the one to watch for this week, because the other videos were like dirt jumps and the RVA one had some actual trails in there, but these are trails in the woods, different than like a bike park out in the wide open in Colorado. Still awesome, but this is like trails. Next, GT Gateway Grind. So it's GT BMX in St. Louis, and this video is 8 minutes 34 seconds. So they're all within 4 seconds of each other, 4 or 5 seconds. This one features Dan Conway, Albert Mercado, and Brian Kaczynski riding in St. Louis, put together and filmed by Ryan Chadwick. Pictures, thumbnail there, by Jeff Z. And it's Brian Kaczynski, Albert Mercado, and Dan Conway. You know what you're getting into with a video like this. And there was a moment in this video, let's see if I can find it, where Brian Kaczynski, yeah, right here. This is funny. This just shows, I think, how much of like a professional and how long Brian Kaczynski has done this, that it feels like he's a professional athlete. It's like sports ball athlete who just like misses a hit when he's playing baseball or something. That's what it feels like, but in reality he just eats it hard while riding his bike and just gets up like nothing happened. It's like, okay, no big deal.
You don't even have to really go that fast. Good. Let's do it again.
Yeah. Like he eats. He's like, jumps right up. You good? Let's do it again. It's just, that's so crazy, because that was a hard fall. There's a lot of people who just wouldn't get right back up after falling like that, and he's just so much of a professional, has been doing this for so long and is so tough that he's just already ready to jump up and go at it again, and I love it. Brian Kaczynski, you are the man. Next up, Pusher BMX Super Spreader. So this is a trip riding around, hitting concrete parks and dirt jumps spots. And is there a list of riders? There is a whole entire description here, which is pretty sweet. So if you want to learn more about who's in this and what went down, that's what you want to check out. And it's 11 minutes 14 seconds. Freaking what's his face, Master Chef Dev on Instagram is in here, and that dude has to be one of my favorite riders out there right now, who's just unique, killing it in his own way and pushing things further and further and further. Next, Fit's F It All video in full is online now. So if you want something extra long, 36 and a half minutes of Fit riders, Mikey Andrew, aka Milky, Nick Bonnell, Justin Spreek, Corey Nastasio's in here, Kurt Perkins, Damian Cespedes, Nico Bidet, Van Homan, Kerry Yamada, Marcus Hoyt, Emerson Morgan, Riley, I can't read that last name, Colton Knudsen is how Charlie said it, Austin Augie, John Nelson, Tom Dugan, Matt Nordstrom, Max Miller, Ethan Corrier, and Jordan Hango. Yeah, Master Chef is freaking incredible. But the Fit Dudes, 36 and a half minutes, F It All is online, available for you to watch right now. Next up, we get into some interview type stuff. This is a Flatland bike check with Kevin Nikolsky from Source with Van Homan talking about his bike. And I can't recall a Flatland bike check being posted on the main BMX websites that I can remember talking about in BMX news. I'm sure there was one that I'm just totally missing, but I think it's kind of cool. And for those of you who are Flatland riders out there and you want to see what a, younger, modern Flatland guy is riding on his bike, this is a cool one to check out. Then we've got a video from Dan's Comp with Matt Ray. It's a video bike check plus park edit at the same time, where there's riding in the beginning of it. And then, wow, that, I swear, I just looked like Gage Sharp for a second going into that Hang 5. But then he goes into talking about his bike and the parts that are on it. After that, we got the podcasts that came out this week. Van Homan on the Unclicked podcast talking about so many different things. So much when it was covered in this one. I listened to a lot of it. Van Homan, always a pleasure to listen to. Then we've got Joe Jarvis on Canode Knows, followed by my podcast, More BMX, the fourth iteration of it with Rick frickin' Thorne. Talking with Rick was so rad. I can remember playing American Wasteland, Tony Hawk's video game, and riding the BMX bike where Rick Thorne is teaching you how to do tricks. I can remember that. And then talking about him, or talking with him, was just, it was awesome. And his positive outlook, and then sharing some of our similarities in the way that people have talked, have looked negatively towards Rick Thorne. And that's happened with me personally as well in life. And to talk about some of that and how we both feel like kind of needed to go through those things to get to where you're at now, and to learn how to embrace it and get through it so that you can be positive and help people at the same time and do the things we do. It's just a really good conversation. And then he's got so much good insight into other aspects of BMX because he's been doing it since 1981. So yeah, an hour and a half with Rick Thorne. Such a good one. And I'm excited to do more of these. Who should number 5 be with? Question of the day. Who should podcast number 5 be with? Leave it in the comments after the stream. And then Kevin Jackson just brought up a really good point and something that I actually missed. And that is not a one-off, but a very limited run of stems that they did with Dan's Comp and Shadow, with Matt Ray's name on one side of them, his signature on there, and a custom Cerakoted finish on it on his VVS stem. It's pretty sweet. I mean, I think if there's more situations like this, I would love to see more companies doing one-off things like this for their riders, where, company rides for a frame company and this company, whatever it might be, just more cool one-off things like this. It seems like Sabrosa does those things, you know, with Trey Jones doing custom frames that he paints himself. Stuff like that is just really rad. So, that being said, what am I going to say? That's the end of BMX news this week. Thank you for tuning in. This one was almost a half hour long. Longest BMX news yet. Either way, I appreciate you guys tuning in. Thank you to everyone in the chat, especially the members who hit join down below as a way to directly support the channel and helps me do things like this every Friday for you guys. So thanks for tuning in, and we will see you tomorrow for another video and Sunday for reacting to the Webby Show 4. Have a good day, everyone.